You already know Kowloon Restaurant, established in 1950 and spanning 4 generations, serves a multi-Asian menu. Did you also know that Kowloon Restaurant is New England's premier Asian dining and entertainment complex, serving Cantonese, Szechuan, Thai, and Polynesian cuisine? And did you know that Kowloon Restaurant is also the home of the finest Japanese sushi? If you haven't dined at Kowloon Restaurant lately, then you simply haven't dined at Kowloon. Kowloon Restaurant, Route 1 North in Saugus.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Harley Race.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
This is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Marotti as we continue to share the news, joined by this man, the master of eloquence, John Cena Sr. Johnny, pleasure to be with you again.
Always a pleasure to be here.
As we began to talk about when our last segment wrapped up with Daniel Bryan, what about the retirement of AJ Lee? My thoughts on that were it must have been a pretty difficult year for her, where her soon-to-be husband left the company the day after the Royal Rumble in 2014. Received his termination notice the day before the wedding, even though I felt WWE was in the right as far as that goes. That's a different story for a different time. You had the infamous Pipe Bomb podcast on Thanksgiving that riled up the McMahon's Day, I'm sure. Then you had Dr. Aman, who was attacked in that podcast, suing CM Punk, and Dr. Aman is still a trainer with WWE, who AJ, I'm sure, interacted with on a regular basis. To have her husband be involved with so much controversy within the company, it must have been pretty difficult for her.
I can only say this, AJ Lee is a professional, having met her. I chatted with her quickly, not at any extent, but I don't think it was that difficult because I think everybody is professional. She was very professional. I'm sure that other people within the company were very professional. I just think the difficulty lies in the stress in your marriage, only because your husband is pro-WWE, I'm
anti-WWE.
I'm sorry, anti-WWE. You have to be pro-WWE is what I was trying to say, because she's still with the organization. The thing that bothered me was when she finally did leave, CM Punk put up a tweet for his wife and said, "Thank you very much." You know what? 3-year-olds do that in sandboxes. I'm sorry, Punk. I have the utmost respect for you, man. I always had good conversations. We were good friends, and I hope we still are good friends. But that was a cheap shot, in my opinion.
Why was that a cheap shot?
It's like, thank you very much for leaving WWE. That's what he basically said to his wife. Yet she was the bread and butter. It's not to say that he doesn't have a lot of money set aside, because let me tell you one thing about this young man. Very, very smart. Don't ever undersell this young man. Very smart. Great financially, great world-wise, understood what he's doing. But you know what? When you have issues like that, don't bring the world in. So I think, I would have thought in my own mind that if WWE knew that AJ Lee was leaving, she never would have gone over at WrestleMania. I really believe that. I think that was a last-minute shot, just like Punk. It was a fire across the bow maybe after the match was done, but one way or the other, I don't think anybody knew it was coming.
Well, she has a book coming out. She worked on that project. That's going to be pretty interesting. Well, let's see what she has to say.
Everybody's got a book.
I want to see yours, but maybe she has a pipe bomb of her own. Who knows?
You know what?
She wanted the business, though, and now she's out of the business.
The business treated her very well. And for her to turn around like Punk and dump on the very thing that sustained them, to me, doesn't say much at all. And I can't prejudge her, nor can I throw any stones. Because the good Lord said, let he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. I can't throw any rocks. How would I react in the same set of circumstances? Probably would have handled it a lot differently for both of them. But what it is, and now, as I'm sure WWE says, we pick up the marbles and start a new game. It's not like she's non-replaceable, and anybody in the WWE or the wrestling world who believes they're non-replaceable, then you believe in the Easter Bunny.
Well, he's gone too. I haven't seen him in WWE for a while.
Thank God.
He had enough of the bunny.
Thank God. And the next thing you ought to get rid of is the rosebuds. And Rose. I'm sorry.
That is one of the worst they've ever had.
It's time to get rid of that gimmick. Get out of the way. Make the man a good wrestler because he was great when he was down in NXT. Let's just do what we need to do and forget all the BS.
Well, what about the world of TNA, Johnny? Taz has left the company, the color commentator. Apparently his checks were a little late, and Taz had just about enough as his contract was coming up this summer, and he said he was planning on moving on to begin with. Your thoughts on that, Johnny? A man that has been a mainstay at color commentary for professional wrestling in this country going back to 2001.
You know, it's like going to a buffet. Eventually you have enough. And I think Taz had had enough. I don't think that there were not any issues prior to this. I just think this is, how do you say, the tip of the iceberg? The boat hit the tip of the iceberg. The non-payment, some of the remarks, the company not being as stable as it should. There are a lot of good professional wrestlers leaving that stable. They really didn't care to keep them. Samoa Joe, who I think is going to be great in WWE. You probably saw him out at Cauliflower Alley Club, Christopher Daniels. So they let a lot of good talent go. The instability of that company, I don't think they have long to go. And I think if I were Taz, I would do the same thing that he did. It was a great ride, and I think he left very professionally. He said, I want to thank TNA. And they parted as friends, which is the way that the previous people we spoke about should have done it. Taz still has my respect. He has the respect of TNA and the locker room, and Josh Matthews. So you and I have had a ton of disagreements. He and Josh Matthews had a disagreement, but they settled it as men. So I think Taz is on his way to bigger and better things. Will he be a trainer for Tough Enough? Remains to be seen.
Wouldn't that be great? I mean, you talk about someone that could really fill the role. Who better than Taz, who was one of the original trainers? That really didn't come to mind, and I don't think Bill DeMott will be back for the new Tough Enough.
I don't think I'd want Bill DeMott back. and nothing against Bill DeMott, because he and I have spoken, good man, but the allegations have literally taken the skin off his back, and it's taken the skin off of WWE's back. I don't think he or WWE needs any more. So I think that's a dead issue.
What about the new number that was released by WWE right after WrestleMania? 1.3 million subscribers to the WWE Network. It continues to grow and expand.
Well, to my credit, and I will take credit for this, if you remember one of the TV shows, I predicted they would reach the 1 million, even though there were many doubters. Now they're at 1.3. But remember what's happening. The territory is expanding. We're in the United Kingdom. We want to go to China. We're going to be in India, so Saudi Arabia. So this has a lot to do with the number increasing. I'm waiting for the stability in the number, because if things don't improve, then people will not resign.
All we know is that a lot of people, for all we know, I should say, a lot of people could have dropped it right after WrestleMania. Obviously, it's going to peak every year at WrestleMania.
Oh, right. That's the biggest number right there.
April, I think next Monday. Well, now I'm going to sound like an idiot, so I'm going to shut my mouth for now. But very impressive, 1.3 million subscribers. If they can continue to grow that while they're losing money on WrestleMania every year now, they can really make it up when it comes to some of those other pay-per-views. Well, especially once they get into China and India. It's a lot of possibility right there.
John's a big push for India, and he also wants to, I guess he's talking bringing a WrestleMania into London if that ever happens. I don't think WWE will ever do it, because he made the statement when he was on the tour that he thinks London or England should have a WrestleMania.
Well, remember the great SummerSlam they had in 1992, over 80,000 people, one of the great events in WWE history.
I met a ton of people in San Jose from England. I'd like nothing better to say hello, mate, and get over there and have a good time in England, get some fish and chips and some steak and kidney pie and have a pint of Guinness and enjoy yourself.
Johnny, you're unbelievable. What about Jey Uso? He's out for 6 months, too. You talk about the injury bug in WWE. What does that leave his brother? Are they going to put him out in the singles ranks? Would you send him out into single competition, try and push him that way, or would you kind of keep him on the sideline until his twin is ready to come back to action? Love the Uso tag team.
Uso tag team was good. They had a good thing going. I think that I would not hold this kid back. I'd give him a couple of shots here and there. But then 6 months is not a long time. It goes by very, very quickly. I'm sure that they're both working out together. He's rehabbing real fast, I hope, and might be before 6 months. But anyway, 6 months tops. Let's see what happens. Don't put the kid in the shelf. Keep at least half the Usos out there.
Your thoughts on the new Tough Enough coming back to the USA Network in late June? That's really exciting. I love the Tough Enough show.
I have several individuals, including some female performers, one being Mistrust. That was the name I gave this young lady. Judy Polano. Polano is a great young lady. She's got the look. She's got the ability. She's been trained to be a professional wrestler. I hope, Julie, you submitted your tape because you have a damn good chance. And some of the other indie people that I know. I think it's a great show. I think it will let people know what it takes to get into this business. I think, when people say to me, oh, but it's faked and it's pre-planned, that's why Uso is out on an injury. That's why Daniel Bryan couldn't make Extreme Rules. That's why John Cena had surgery through his throat to fuse a piece of his spine, because it's fake. You know what? It's entertainment, and Vince has said that. Take it from there. But when it comes time to performing in the center of the squared circle, it's a whole different ballgame.
I think it'd be great if they could find not only the winner, but to find some great athletes, people that have a great passion for the business, and bring them in, quote-unquote, naked without going through the independent system, and have WWE train them the way they want to train them. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
I like that, because when I had my appraisal business and the ice cream stand, my whole thing was I would rather hire people that know nothing, because I become the potter, you become the clay. Now the vase is made the way we both want it. When you get indie people in, they already have their habits, they already have their downfalls. It's difficult to break those habits and downfalls. So I think you have a valid point, my friend. Maybe I'll submit a tape. You never know.
We should make a tape for you. That would be fantastic. Like I said, you've still got a
When they're going to use me.
You've still got a big run left in you, brother.
Well, WWE hasn't called me yet, so we'll see.
Let me ask you about this one now. NXT is going on the road after a successful weekend at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Fitness Expo and then out at WrestleMania weekend. NXT is headed to Albany, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and other cities in May and June. What do you think of the prospects on NXT Live outside of Orlando and the Florida area?
Only a fool competes against himself. And that's exactly what they're doing.
They're running smaller venues that they wouldn't run WWE events in.
Only a fool competes against himself, because what happens is pretty soon the smaller venues sell out, and you have to go to larger venues. You're taking the stars of today, which will be the future stars of tomorrow, as you like to say, and exposing them. I think they're better off doing what they're doing, like OVW did their shows in Kentucky. They once in a while went up to Indiana, but that was it. They kept it small. Again, a fool who competes against himself is a fool. And maybe it's all about money, and that's great. Maybe somebody's trying to prove a point and say, I'll show you what I can really do with this. But one way or the other, you're competing against the big boy. You're competing against your dad.
I have to disagree with you 100% on that one. I think it's outstanding that NXT is going on the road, at least with the roster they have as of this moment. I think it's going to be almost an independent super show, if you want to say that, even though they have people such as Hideo Itami and Finn Balor, our good friend Fergal Devitt. I really think that this could be, as we've talked about in various shows, a product that professional wrestling fans might really take to. And they're not putting it in a, 15,000 seat arena. They're going to be held in smaller theaters and armories and so on and so forth.
Not yet.
Well, let's see how it goes. What if the fans really take to it? What if WWE can create another brand? What if they can create another territory? What if they just need to expose it to more fans, have more fans become familiar with it, have more fans want to experience it live? I think it's a great experiment. I really do.
Let's see which one.
I'd love to go to Albany when they're there.
Let's see which one of us is right.
Well, you know what? That makes it interesting. NXT, Johnny, you do the big voiceovers all the time, but if you're in our area, NXT will be live in Albany Thursday, May the 14th. I'd love to see Fergal, Finn Balor in action live on that one. We'll see what happens.
Long ride for an old man like me.
Johnny, you're only 56. Come on now, brother.
I am 56. I'm looking forward to that. 57's coming up.
What about the big scandal that came at WrestleMania, Johnny? I don't know if you were involved in it, but Scott Steiner threatening Hulk Hogan's wife, threatening to kill the immortal Hulk Hogan. Well, supposedly.
I was not involved in that. All I can tell you is this. It did not happen at WrestleMania. It supposedly was perpetrated at the airport. Now look, I don't know whether it's fact or fiction. I have no idea. So, I have no comment.
Apparently there is surveillance footage of Scott going up to Mrs. Hogan. He claims there was no threat made against Hulk's life. I know that at the Hall of Fame there were almost wanted posters put up of Scott Steiner to make sure that he couldn't get into the building. It was a scenario. Was it the same at WrestleMania? Did you see anything like that? Or was it just at the Hall of Fame?
There was security that, no, he was not, from what I understood, he was not allowed to be anywhere near any of it.
Right, but I mean, did you see any signage or anything when you were there? So it was just at the Hall of Fame then?
No, and it's my whole thing is, you have a balloon, and sometimes you blow it up too big. You may have a surveillance camera that shows me walking over to you. You and I are both enemies, but all I'm saying is, Dan, hopefully we can resolve the issue and have dinner. And you all of a sudden go, that SOB came over to me and told me that if I don't keep my mouth shut and my eyes closed, he's going to punch me in the chest and rip out my heart, pull a Stan Stasiak on me. And so nobody knows what's really said. There are always three sides to every story.
Oh, you got that right.
Hers, Hogan's, his, and the truth. So let's see what happens. But I'm not going to comment because I don't know.
Scott Steiner's a big guy.
Scott Steiner needs to be respected. Scott Steiner, like everybody else, has had issues. But the fact of the matter is, until I can hear the words from Scott Steiner's mouth, I feel like Thomas now, unless I can put my finger in the holes in your hands and feet and your side, I'm not going to believe. But the whole thing is very simple. Until I hear the words, right now, it's just somebody, a mark, or somebody just writing, or somebody telling a story. So precautions were taken. I'm not going to deny that. But whether that's the case or not, I really don't know. I would think if somebody threatened my life, I'd have them arrested.
It's an interesting story. I'm interested to see where it goes down the legal channel. Probably will disappear, but who knows? Hulk Hogan always seems to find his way into the media, whether he wants it or not.
It's because of the pythons, brother.
Well, what about this one, Johnny? Justin Roberts taking issue with Conor the Crusher and WWE's involvement with him. He had a really interesting blog that he put together. I don't know if you had a chance to read that, but it made a lot of news. Your thoughts on Justin Roberts saying his piece about WWE's involvement with Conor?
Well, basically what he said, it was all done for commercial reasons. Justin is a personal friend. As you know, he was the ring announcer for WWE, and they let him go, and they parted friends. Justin is an honorable man, and so is the WWE, an honorable company. I don't know what to think of it. I don't think there was enough there to support what he wanted to say. I think it was a poor time to do it. But, and I'm gonna back Justin Roberts up here, like John Cena Sr. or Johnny Fabulous. If I have something to say and I believe it's worth saying, and it's the truth, then I'm going to say it, whether you believe me or not. So, did I like what he said? I don't really know. I can't say yes or no to that. Did he say what he felt? Yes. Did he make it look like this was collusion and business? Yes. Is it a bitter employee? I don't think so. So where does it bring me to my final analogy? It's unfortunate that it was written. At the time it was written.
Right.
But he felt that he had to let the world in on a secret. Sometimes some things are better left alone.
He was set off by one of Stephanie McMahon's retweets WrestleMania weekend about, I don't have it verbatim in my mind, but the goodwill that companies are going to put out is their profit of the future. And I thought that was a poor time for someone, whether it be Stephanie or anyone in WWE, to put that out WrestleMania week.
Right, and that's
when they were doing, when the company itself was putting out so much goodwill. You can say, was it heartfelt goodwill or was it corporate goodwill? At the end of the day, it's still goodwill.
Nope.
If I'll play devil's advocate, just say Justin Roberts was 100% dead on about everything with Connor. You could look at that as personally disappointing, but in the end, it's going to help a lot of kids with the money they're raising.
Absolutely. So there's two sides to every story.
Sure.
But I think Justin
I
had to say what he said.
And I think it was great the way he said it.
And he did it professionally. There was nothing really derogatory. It was written by somebody with a brain, if I can use that word.
Sure.
The end result is that it will help a lot of children. It may give a lot of courage to other people. I suppose your next question would be the question that I would ask you. Do you really think he belonged in the Warrior Award?
Oh, we discussed that. If anyone watched the Hall of Fame last year when Warrior was inducted, he outlined what he wanted to see happen very clearly. I think, this one may get me hot, but you know what? I got to call it as I see it. That's a way to capitalize on the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior is still hot right now, not only for the legacy of his character, but in his passing. Did I think that Hall of Fame should have extended 45 minutes to Dana Warrior making a speech about her husband, who was just inducted last year? I don't think the Hall of Fame was the platform for it. Is that to say that it shouldn't have happened? No. But I don't think it should have been at the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Warrior had his chance to say what he felt in his heart last year. There are lots of ways Dana Warrior could have said what she wanted to say. I don't think it should have taken away from that ceremony because it was a long, long Hall of Fame ceremony. And the fact that Connor, a great kid, what he went through breaks your heart, but that's just not the place for it. It's a celebration of WWE and professional wrestling. Why are you bringing a situation about a poor kid with cancer into a celebration of wrestling?
Brought the ceremony down.
Yeah. But I do think there is a place for it. I just don't think it should be at a Hall of Fame ceremony.
I agree. I would agree. I'm not arguing with you. That's why I'm asking, because that was my general contention. I think it's an honorable thing, but I think there should be a separate situation where this type of an award or situation was given. Could have even been in the celebrity side of it. You see what I'm saying? Which maybe would make more sense.
Yeah.
But what's done is done, and my prayers go to all those people who suffer from that disease. My youngest son, thank you, God, so far.
Yep.
Everything has been good. Let's hope it continues that way, and I know it will. But I just don't. I think Justin did what he did. It's done.
I'd love to have him in the studio with us. I'm
We
sure
can
he's
get
got
him
some
on-
great
get
stories.
him on the phone, and he'll do a telephone interview, I'm sure.
I have him in person.
Then do what you got to do. Great guy.
I know he loved your Fabo Pop.
I have nothing but good words for Justin Roberts. It was funny how we met after one of the shows, and we hit it off, and so I promised him some Fabo Pop, which I did. I gave him a couple of Fabo T-shirts that say, I pop for Fabo Pop. John had one. I hope he gave the other one to Vince that I gave him, but I'm sure Vince isn't wearing that shirt.
Well, we've seen the picture of Vince in your T-shirt.
Really?
On your phone, remember?
I don't have it on my phone.
Maybe your last phone. Remember you showed me the text of the picture of Vince in your shirt posing?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have a new shirt now that
Yeah.
you sent him? you're creating your own brand over there,
Yeah,
Mr.
right.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Last but not least, on to a different subject that isn't so emotional. Jeff Jarrett, Global Force Wrestling is going on the road this summer and into the fall. What do you think of the prospects of Jeff Jarrett's endeavor? I remember as we ended 2014, you had me in tears on this platform when you talked about the thoughts beyond the Tokyo Dome event, but now they really seem to be making a go of it. What do you think GFW is going to do? What do you think they need to be a successful endeavor beyond these live events?
I think they need to show people that there is professional wrestling. Remember Jarrett and his father started TNA. See where that went, don't you?
Well, hey, you can say what you want about TNA, but almost 13 years after the fact, they're still in business.
Yeah, but that's because you have somebody who's got a lot of money backing them. So,
they're still in business.
but it's all about money. Listen, Dan, you know what? I've been around a long time. I've had several businesses. As long as somebody's willing to pump the blood into the body, it's still alive. If that person who's funding TNA all of a sudden looked at his daughter and said, you know what, sweetheart, I love you very much, but I think it's time we stop the bleeding.
Well, that has been eliminated, and the TNA that can survive as is what's seen every Friday night on Destination America. And I'm glad that it exists because it's giving people jobs in this industry.
It's not doing well in Destination America. The viewership is down. So, and I don't think Destination America is too happy with what they were seeing because there's been some conflict between them and TNA. However,
I'm very happy that Al Snow is coming in to be the new color commentator, I think beginning next week.
Yes.
I spoke to Al when he was coming back from Nashville when he was driving home.
Yep.
Love Al, great personality.
He'll be good on TNA. He's a great human being. I have nothing but good words for him either. But Global Force Wrestling, I guess, remains to be seen. First of all, he has not disclosed who he has in his stable. That's key.
Chris Sabin is on the roster.
Well,
I think that's a great addition there.
But that's key. Male and female.
You and the females.
He's making
you and the females.
Listen, I'd rather fight than switch. He promises some great stars. He's promised some secrets. He said he scooped somebody that WWE was interested in as a prospect. So let's see what guitar playing Jeff Jarrett has really to say, or what kind of product he's going to produce. Because I will be honest with you, once the wrestling community has an alternative, a good alternative, and I'm not saying that TNA isn't good, it's average, but once they have a good alternative, they have a choice. NXT, even though it's part of the same company, gives me a choice. Raw or NXT? SmackDown or NXT? A fool who competes with himself is still a fool. It all goes in the same pocket, but you're a fool. So
yeah, I disagree with that.
Well, but let's just see what happens with that.
All right, sure.
So Global Force Wrestling needs to come out and be that shining star, that one that says 2 furniture stores, now 3 with NXT, 3 furniture stores on the same street, we have competition.
Well, you got more than that. You got Ring of Honor. You have Lucha Underground.
I don't even put Ring of Honor in the same league. Please, you know
I'm
what?
just saying.
I have a lot of friends in Ring of Honor.
They have a national exposure to a point.
They think they're the best in the world. That's great. Hooray for you. You know, Todd Hanson's there.
How do you really feel,
Fat
Johnny?
Pants. You know what? I don't care. What am I known for? Sticking my foot in my mouth,
brother.
And that's what I do. I really don't care. But you know what? Give Ring of Honor credit, and I will.
They're still in business.
They came from the bottom, and they've worked themselves in to a position where people will watch. Positive move. But you're talking about Global Force Wrestling. Professional. Not that these people in Ring of Honor are not professional, but we have superstars. I'm only waiting to see the product. I'm waiting to see which TV network picks up Global Force Wrestling.
Very interesting that they have 3 television tapings booked in Las Vegas this summer and into October. But where are they going to wind up? Where is the footage going to be used?
Well, probably Jarrett's living room. I don't know, but let's wait and see what happens, because right now it's too tough to call, but I'm saying that 2 furniture stores, 3 furniture stores, 4 furniture stores on the same street is good for business.
Hey, you know what? If they can keep people employed, give people full-time jobs, I'm all for global wrestling. I hope they succeed.
Well, let's see what happens.
Maybe we'll have to go out to Vegas and check it out. I know Karen Jarrett was a big fan of yours.
I don't think so, but another story for another time.
Unbelievable. Johnny, there's so much news in the world of wrestling. We need to get you down here more so that the fans can experience your input. We're gonna. Oh, that's the problem. We need to get these fans to support the endeavor here. You got to remember, we're like the PBS of professional wrestling, Johnny. We need to have a little cash flow to help make this happen. The limousine we send up to Newburyport isn't cheap.
Nor is my private jet when I have to fly. So.
Well, the helicopter that we land on the studio is convenient, but you don't always have access to it.
Thank God for Big Mike, who runs the Melrose studio, and you know, Patrick, that keeps me alive and well, and with pizza and good stuff. But Big Mike, thanks. My hat's off to you.
Unbelievable. Johnny, so much to talk about, but we got to wrap it up here, fans. We love your input. Continue to tweet, Facebook, all those great messages, your thoughts. I know some people thought that we were WWE lovers on one of our recent programs.
No, I read
they
that.
thought we didn't hit hard enough.
No,
I think we hit.
No, they called you a WWE ass kisser.
Do you think I'm a WWE ass kisser? In your honest opinion?
Yes.
Why? I just I took Justin Roberts' side in the Connor instance. You think I kissed WWE's ass?
I went to the site. I wanted to see the program, and I read that one comment. You know, somebody said it's a fantastic show. It's too bad more people don't watch it. And somebody else said, "Who wants to watch that fat man?" It must have been me. Fat
definitely
WWE ass kisser who's probably looking for a job. I think that's what he said. And
hey. Let me put the disclaimer out here right now. I'd absolutely love to go back and work for WWE again for much longer than I was when my association with them began in November of 2000.
Well, you know, so would I. So
this is the disclaimer there. And I have a lot of friends in WWE that wrestle. I have a lot of friends in the WWE office that are very good to me. They're very good to the Little Maraudis. You can say what you want about the wrestling content, about them as a corporation, the human beings I interact with. I love WWE. Do I wish the product that was presented on TV was different a lot of the time? Abso-effing-lutely.
Then I think what you need to do is take that side of it more often, or at least sometimes.
I thought Extreme Rules sucked for the most part.
Well, there you go. Now we finally come
out
and said
I'm shooting, brother.
Before it was the brownie points. Now he's coming out with the facts that he wants
Extreme
to really
Rules was a lousy pay-per-view presentation if you're paying $45 or $55 for it. If it's part of a WWE Network $10 presentation, it was passable. I think the pay-per-view events need to have more sizzle, more action, more drama, more intensity, and I don't think Extreme Rules presented action and intensity. Do you?
Well, I'm looking forward to your comments on the website now, on YouTube, wherever it is you post them.
See, people...
don't be afraid to post stuff directly to me. Believe me, Father Marati will pass it on to me. I'll answer your emails, and maybe you'll like what I say. Maybe you won't like what I say, but I'll answer.
I have no problem responding to people. I know there are people with YouTube channels, and they delete comments like that. As long as it's nothing insane, I'm not going to delete it.
I'm with you.
I like to interact with people.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, I'll say how I feel.
Down deep, we're all wrestling fans.
You want to say how you feel? That's fine with me. Let's be honest and upfront with each other.
Send a direct question. We can even put it up on the show sometime.
Amen. I'll be glad to do it. Matter of fact, send your questions. Let's do a show on fan questions. We supposedly have 5 million hits on this thing, so let's get some fan questions. We'll answer your questions live. One whole segment to your questions. You got the guts? Write them. Send them. We'll answer them.
Unbelievable. Well, for the fabulous one, Mr. John Cena Sr., I am Dan Marati. Again, we're going to put up the links on how you can support our endeavors here to make this the best show possible. Imagine if we had a different guest every month, a different legend, a different superstar. I think it would make the show a lot better. The goal is, I'm not big on let's charge for everything, let's charge for everything, let's charge for everything. Granted, we do have to recoup expenses, but I think I want to give people as much content as possible that they can learn from and that down the road people can look at historically. WWE owns virtually every video library of importance out there now, and they're going to present history the way WWE wants to. They have that right because they own it. They're WWE. But I also think there are a lot of stories, a lot of experiences, a lot of careers that they're not going to document or document well, and I think we have the chance to do that in a very great platform. I think our studio shoot interviews speak for themselves. We've put some of them out there for free. And believe me, folks, when we have someone like Vader or Demolition or Carlito or Tony Atlas down here at the studio, they ain't coming for free. So we need your support to help out. We always give back some pretty good rewards, Johnny, do we not? Unbelievable. Johnny's speechless at this point. He's thinking about San Francisco and Betty.
God help me.
Now, you know what?
No, I think I'm going to the Kowloon after this.
Well, hey, say hi to Andy Wong. I got to edit all these.
Take out.
For the fabulous one, John Cena Sr., the man that made Bruce Jenner turn into a woman, I'm Dan Bryan. We'll see you next time. Be well.